Question for you. Are you practicing your team the right way?
Right like that. Caught me off guard.
Well, actually, this is the Coaching Life podcast for anyone that doesn't know what podcast you turned on to listen to. Episode 194.
Yep.
Season 12. And today, Coach Martin and I have a great topic of conversation, so we're going to get right into it.
Yeah. How often have we practiced our intros for the podcast? We've done 194 intros now. How many times have we practiced that intro?
Not many. And that's why we were poor at it. According to Pod News Daily, an email that I get on a daily basis. So here's the reason why we jumped right into the topic, and we won't chit-chat about it very long. We were told yesterday in an email, and I told this to my classes too, because they got to know this information, that the majority of people who listen to podcasts, the reason why they turn those podcasts off within the first 21 seconds is because of meaningless chit-chat.
It's tough.
I texted that to you.
Do you think our tagline or our summary of genuine conversation, genuine, honest conversation, deters a lot of people from tuning in?
It might. It might. I'm impressed that you remember that. Yeah, that's a tagline on our. That's our description. That's a description of our podcast. That we will sometimes talk about the things out loud that people necessarily don't want to talk about out loud.
Sure.
When it comes to youth and amateur sports. So,
Yeah.
That's why we're here. But also to be useful. Hopefully, we'll be useful today.
Right. And we've talked about this a little bit before, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's
Our
hard
last
to come
episode-
up with total originality in 193 after 193 episodes. Yeah.
Well, you said your perspective might have changed. So we mentioned that you mentioned that in our last episode, that your perspective might have changed on how you need to practice, and we kind of held off to wait for today for you to explain what your thoughts were on that.
To actually dedicate an entire episode to this.
Yeah.
Right? So, well, I guess, the idea is, or some of the big questions around this particular topic would be, well, what is the goal of practice, right? What is the ultimate goal of practice?
Yeah, and you might have different answers when you answer
practice, man. Practice. So do you practice your team to build skill? Do you practice your team to build chemistry? So when I think of skills, I think of individual skills. So that's reps and drills, right? Team chemistry, you're talking about things that occur within the team, as opposed to maybe doing a drill to work on defense. In basketball, you do 2-on-1 down and 3-on-2 back, or those kinds of 3-on-3 drills or whatever, something like that. Or do you practice them to prepare for competition, to prepare for the games? I mean, those are big questions, I think.
It's interesting that you bring that up with basketball, because I think I messaged you maybe a couple months ago or several weeks ago, and about talking about OTAs, NFL OTAs, and how, because Shadur Sanders looked great in OTAs. His numbers were amazing. And
it's a big weekend, by the way. I'm going to throw some meaningless chatter out there. Are you going up to Cleveland?
No.
Okay.
No. The Browns are predicted to win 8 games as their ceiling.
Is this one of them?
It's not that big of a weekend for me, Coach. But
all right.
I'm hoping. I think this is a game we can win for sure.
Usually is.
Well, yeah.
They're playing the Bengals, for anyone that doesn't know.
Right. Battle of Ohio. I don't know. Is it in Cleveland? Is it opening?
I believe it is. I could be wrong about that.
Anyway,
I know Dallas plays tomorrow.
And
against Philadelphia.
The Colts, which is your other favorite team.
The Colts are now what? I added them to my. All right. But you were talking about Shadur and OTAs. Yeah.
In OTAs, NFL teams will script. They'll script failures and they'll script successes, and be able to control those. In certain ways. And I said to you, I think it'd be nice if baseball was a little bit more like that. And I can't even remember what our conversation ended up being, but when you say the 2-on-1, 3-on-2, drill. We'll call that a drill.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that's a drill, but it's more of a form of, competitive action that does prepare a basketball player for a game. When I think of drills for basketball, I
like that one.
Think of
because
individual
you're
drills.
competing there too.
Yeah, so individual dribbling, shooting, working on shooting
Mm-hmm.
form, things like that.
Well, how often have you gone into a gym and you've seen a kid shooting with that? What do you call that? Really
The
big
thing that feeds
rebounding machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feeds you, right?
Right.
And they're just knocking them down. And that kid could go in there for hours and do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, dang, it's a good basketball player. And then you go to the game, and someone gets in his face, or someone's physical with him, and you got a defender, and score 4 or 5 points,
Or they
right?
don't get to shoot, period.
or don't get to shoot. Yeah,
they're not able to get
because
open.
now it's so how much does that particular skill building really truly make you a better basketball player?
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's and how much of our practice time are we spending? Now, obviously, you want a kid to do that on his own time, right? I mean, you want him to work on those kinds of things.
What a great point.
But even still, like if it's not making you better, then maybe even on your own time, there needs to be some way to add some more difficulty. I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't say it isn't making you better.
Sure.
I think you have to, there's multiple elements, and you have to spend time in each of those elements. And as far as, in our perspective, from a baseball perspective, and this is something I think that has changed maybe in the last 20 years. I want my guys to go work with personal instructors.
Yeah.
I want them with pitching instructors and hitting instructors, and
Because they help them find those flaws, like in their swing or in their mechanics.
The fundamental stuff
that
that takes a lot of time. You have to put a lot of time into it to get it right, to be good at it, and that's not time that is easy to give once you bring your team together. Now, we'll be starting workouts soon where we get together and we swing the bat and we throw and, do work on some fielding fundamentals and things like that, probably in the gym, not out on the field mostly, but in those settings, I think that's when you really, focus on those, the fundamentals, your swing plane and, your arm slot and, things like that, things that you really need a lot of time to do. And when practice starts in the spring, you could do that every day with, a group of 30 players, and you'll never do it enough.
Right.
So at that point, I think that's where our conversation kind of starts. What's the goal of practice at that point? When spring, when you get all your guys in, when the season officially starts, what are you doing in practice? And I think that's where it kind of shifts from those. You still want to work on fundamentals, and you still want to do some of those individual drills, I think, to keep players sharp. But the amount of time that you spend in your practice shifts away from that,
and
it goes to something else. And what does it go to?
The bigger thrust of your practice probably needs to be fill in the blank that where we might be headed here in our conversation. But if you're not able to engage let's say you have 24 guys on your roster, or 24 guys at practice at the same time, I just threw that out because that's what we had last year. We practiced varsity and JV all together, right? And you're not able to engage all 24 of those guys in the team drill. The part of practice that mirrors the game the most, I guess, is the way I'll put it. So do you have those other guys then standing around and waiting their turn, or do you have them doing some kind of individual skills drill that helps them until it's their turn?
That's when you got to get creative.
Through those kinds of things.
Absolutely. And I've been doing a lot of that over the past, I guess summer, you could say.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out, what we need to do, because we have a young team coming in this year. From a varsity perspective, not a lot of guys have a lot of time at the varsity level. So, and I think you said last week, you think, being in the competition and competing is so important.
Yeah.
And it is. I agree with that. And that's why I think, one of the reasons we encourage playing multiple sports.
Right.
Because we want our guys to be competing year round, because there is something to be, you can throw fundamentals out if you don't have that competitive edge and you don't know how to compete. You're going to struggle to perform, to produce in a game, which is that, you mentioned that earlier about a basketball player that's shooting a lot on his own or her own, able to hit shots, but then when you get in the game, it changes, and that's because there's a competitive balance that
and
happens
you might
there.
still it's obviously you're going to need to be able to take that shot, because even if you make a decision, like even if somebody is playing, they close out on you and you pump fake and take one dribble to your left and shoot, right? You could practice that with the pitch back or the rebounding machine or whatever they call it, but I guess the point, I said a word there that I think is, I'm going to give you a line, because it's something that I'm going to keep asking myself more and more when I'm creating my practice plans. And that is this: the difference between a practice rep, a rep, and a decision-making rep.
Yep.
Is this a decision-making rep? Like for our sport, for baseball, I would say, I mentioned, I think last week, that I heard a coach talking at the ABCA last year who said that they don't practice bunt defenses, at least in drills, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons for that is because you know what's going to happen. You're ready for it, and you're not making a decision. You're being told what to do, right? Third base, you're in here, ball's bunted at you. You got to come. The difficulty is when the third baseman, even in the drill, has to make a decision because there's a runner on second or first and second, and your decision is going to be, if it's bunted at you, you got to react and come and get it, or if it's not bunted at you, you got to hold the bag in case we have a force there. If that's the play that which the majority of the time, that's kind of what we're doing, right? But the idea in decision-making reps is it's a rep that forces the player to have to instantaneously decide where to go. Like I read, there's some really good articles. So anyway, anyone that's a baseball coach that's not a member of ABCA, you need to become one, because you get this magazine on a monthly basis.
I don't get that magazine.
How long have you been an ABCA member?
Well, maybe a couple of years. I don't know.
Really? And
remember.
You're not getting this?
No, maybe I declined it. Maybe I get it via email. I get something called, I get an email commonly. I don't think it's every month, though. Maybe every quarter. Can't remember what the email is called, but it's got a bunch of ABCA.
Yeah, I get those too. I know what you're talking about.
Maybe I declined it.
You need to check on this, because I highly recommend this. I've got a couple issues of it here. I sat and read this one in my lawn chair, my beach chair down in Florida this year. It doesn't have a cover.
It looks like you got excited with it.
I did. Well, Palmer ripped the cover off, but I also underlined a lot of things. This is a really good issue because Coach John Shalley at Ashland, his dad was Don Shalley, the legendary coach at Marietta for several years, Marietta College, and John's had a heck of a lot of success in Ashland as well, and it's a really good article. But I was reading an article in the most recent one this morning, actually, and it was about youth. It was for youth coaches, and that's the thing about the ABCA. Like, people tend to think that it's just a college coach organization or just a high school coach. Or the American Baseball Coaches Association is for everyone. Like, you go to those conferences and there's 10,000 people there.
Yeah.
That's because you have pro coaches, you have college coaches, you have high school coaches, you have youth coaches, travel coaches, rec coaches, everybody. It's a really cool experience. Well, and these magazines are written with articles keeping everybody in mind as well. And the way that this article, so this is actually an article on coaching bunt defenses at the youth level. And the way it begins is like this. Picture this. It's a close game. Your pitcher is pitching his heart out, but there are runners on first and third with nobody out. The batter swings and misses on the first pitch. So your defense is like, okay, this guy's not going to bunt. He's up there to hit, right? Well, suddenly, as your pitcher releases the next pitch, the batter shifts from his batting stance and drops down a bunt right between the pitcher and the catcher. You, as a coach, watch in disbelief as the batter runs toward first, the runner on first sprints toward second, and the runner on third shuffles off the bag. You watch as both your pitcher and your catcher stare at each other for a beat before scampering after the ball. And you can see it all right now. The panicked reaction, the hurried row to first, the ball sailing down the right field line, and the merry-go-round begins with the other team celebrating one of the biggest momentum plays in baseball, extra bases in exchange for a bunt. And then he goes into talking about, the importance of having your team ready for that. And so my question would be, how do you get your team ready for that?
Yeah.
Youth coaches, how do you get your team ready for that?
Yep.
Is it drilling bunt coverages? Or is there another way to get them ready?
Yeah. Which,
Or is it both?
We can wordsmith, but
Yeah.
I think, and if you go back, and I don't know this for sure, I probably should have went back and listened, because I think we talked about this in our first 7 episodes. Because the question
the
came
player
to,
development program.
Yeah, the question came to us because we were saying, well, we need to practice. We need to practice more instead of play games. I still think that's true. I think
Yeah.
I think there's a mentality out there, games, and that's
pre 12 years old, right, or pre 13 years old.
Yeah. But we talked about, and the question came to us, well, doesn't practice get boring because you're just working on fundamentals?
Well, embrace the boring.
Yeah, but it's kind of our job as coaches, and some of the fun of it is to find that, to make it not boring, to work on those fundamentals. That would be an example. I've got an example that happened to us last year. We had you got a runner on first base, less than 2 outs, and pitcher's in the windup. Runner takes off. Pitcher goes to, well, wouldn't have to, but pitcher goes to pitch. Runner stealing home. Batter,
runner at third base.
Runner at third, sorry.
Okay.
Batter squares the bunt. Pitcher throws a strike. We practice throwing strikes.
Yeah.
Batter bunts the ball.
Yeah, that's an instantaneous decision that your pitcher has to make in the middle of his windup, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you practice it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can practice that. You can.
But you have to practice it like a game.
Absolutely.
Game speed.
Right. Yeah. So you have your pitcher out there throwing a live pin to a batter. And it would be nice if you get in the situation where you got 6 runners on third base, because guess what? That might happen if you try a squeeze offensively, and you steal home, and in the case that you're hitting, the pitcher throws it up and in.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of it, is this is something you could practice both offensively and defensively.
Right, because now it's up and in. So now what's the runner doing? So and what's the catcher doing? How do we respond to that? And I think that's what we're getting to with the bunt coverages is they're bunting, and they're actually putting a live bunt down
with multiple runners moving.
Right. And so now you've got, okay, what does the runner have to do? They have to make sure the bunt gets down before they can advance, and what does the third baseman do? What does the first baseman do? How they react? And the element of it being live, which can't be talked about too much.
Right.
There's a big difference in just taking a ground ball and taking a ground ball when you have to do it and get the ball to first or second before the runner does. Yeah. That's something that I've done, or we've done in practice a lot, is, just at random times, if an infield session, we'll have runners start at home plate, and on a ground ball, the runner will take off. So, the fielder has to, get that runner out. So they get used to that feeling of, the hurry up, or the pressure, or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. Whatever it is you want to call it. To simulate that
it is
life.
pressure. It is.
And for me, I think there's opportunities to do it more. That's what I've been looking at, to do things like that more.
Try to figure it out.
Not just go straight to scrimmage.
That's our job as coaches, is to try to figure out how to create those moments in practice.
Yeah. So for me, like, and I mentioned that the scripting, like for me, that's the baseball scripting opportunity in practice. That's what we can script plays.
That's what you texted me. You were watching a scrimmage, a football scrimmage, and you said you love how the scrimmage works. You were watching a Meg scrimmage, I think, weren't you?
Oh, was I?
And you said, I love how the scrimmage works where it's very controlled, right? You're like, I wish we could do this in baseball. And I said, well, we actually used to do it a lot more. Years ago, we would do like 6 outs before you'd switch innings, or 10 out, 10 outs or whatever. It was just brutal on a pitcher. Don't ever do that. But
Right.
unless you plan on switching pitchers 3 times in that
Right.
sequence. But then coaches would be on the field, and whatever happened, you'd get a lot of coaching. Your scrimmage would last 4 hours sometimes because of that. But now most of the scrimmages are just like games, basically.
And I talk to coaches before games, and we always say,
agree.
you can
Anytime
stop
you want to stop it,
but we never do.
But we don't,
and probably we should,
because we get into we got to win this.
what would be nice
as
is,
opposed to I got to teach my guys some things in this.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
learn while we're here.
yeah,
I think that's something that you and I as a high school coach, I want to be more intentional. We get those scrimmages for a reason, and it's just like NFL teams when they scrimmage a preseason game, they practice with that team now. A lot of times they'll practice with them that week before they're and it gives them a chance to actually have a different opponent on the other side of the ball, and it creates that that more game-like feel than just scrimmaging against your own guys all the time.
yeah. I'll tell you what I noticed last year was, and what kind of made me start thinking about this is, in games it seemed like our outfielders were taking their time. Say runner on second, ground ball to right, outfielder comes in, takes his time, makes the right throw. He's throwing home through the cut, first base.
But just
cut.
not an urgency getting to the ball.
There's no urgency, and we're kind of going crazy in the dugout. Like,
Yeah.
What are you doing? Well, you think back. I mean, we're practicing that.
Yeah.
We're practicing that movement. What he's doing, he's repeating what we've practiced. And because when we're hitting these, when we're working on these cuts and relays,
There's no base runner.
right, and we're kind of focusing on being in the right spots and the right positions. But I think there's a place for it, definitely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to get used to having that pressure, being forced to, and again, make a decision, but make a play too.
Right.
Because maybe you don't want to throw the ball home in that case. Maybe the
Right.
runner on second got a good read, and he's going to score no matter what.
And that's a decision-making rep.
And that's a decision
right?
maker,
It's,
right.
And because I've thought about it with mass infield fungo, right? Like the way we do our mass fungo is, the first round is routine, which means it's going to be hit right at you,
Yep.
and it's coming right at you. Next round, we move everybody over and we say, okay, we're going to play the backhand side. So every ball is hit to the backhand side. Next time we move it over, gloves and all, so on and so forth. What if we mixed it up sometimes and did mass fungo, where we said, shortstop, second, third. We got 2 coaches hitting, but you don't know where it's going to go. It might be shallow. It might be to your left, to your right. It might be hot. But you've got to react, because that's what's going to happen in a game. Like the hitter's not going to say, "Hey, I'm going to hit you a ground ball to your backhand side here."
Right. Right.
And I guess that's what we're talking about is what are some ways that we can structure practice to where it's going to feel more like the game, or better put, in the game, it's going to feel more like practice.
Yep. Let's go back to your article there, because I think I want to make a point on that.
On John Shalley's,
What do they do?
in Coach Shalley's?
Yeah.
So Coach Shalley talks about how, I just read it here. He says, we make practices fun, competitive, and challenging. He said, we want to push our guys while keeping it enjoyable. And he said, we install our entire system in the fall, and one of the things that we do is we play 3-inning games during intra-squad scrimmages. We set up the scoreboard in the 7th inning, so they play 9 innings in college. Set up the scoreboard in the 7th inning and play the last 3. When that quote-unquote game ends, we reset and play another 3. So maybe we'll get 9 innings in like everyone else does, but we've played the 7th, 8th, and 9th 3 times. And he says it forces players to execute in late game situations, and the infield has to come in. The outfielders have to make pressure throws. Offense has to manufacture runs or find ways to create big moments repeatedly. Playing those last 3 games, and so that way when it happens in the spring, they're not in shock, because it's a baseball game feels a lot different in those last 3 innings.
Sure.
Like early on, they score 3 runs on you. It's the second inning. You're like, we got time, right? And you look up there, and the next thing you know, it's the 6th inning. You're like, we only got 6 outs.
Yep.
We got to do something now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that idea.
I do too.
Of segmenting that out. I also like the idea of picking spots in games. Like let's say you have you're in the bottom of the last, and the winning run's on second base. That's the drill.
Yep.
You got your defense on the field.
Do that during batting practice, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, the guy's still getting BP, but on this ball right here is live.
It's live all the way around.
So we got a runner on second. This is it. Bottom of the 7th. That's the game-winning run. Game's tied.
Yep.
Yeah. The batter's got the pressure. The defense has the pressure. Yeah.
Yep. And then too, just adding a competitive nature to every drill. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to win the drill. Who does it the best? Who makes the least amount of mistakes? Who barrels the most balls? Whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Have a winner, have a loser. So
that we used the scoreboard a lot more last year during practices than I ever have. And we would use it for that reason, like point system, up home. Whenever we were competing, it was we would use it to basically show this is the score. This is
we implemented a lot more competition last year, but there are so many more areas that we could have. Like when we get back, I recognize that, so it's something I want to.
It's the reason for the off season.
Right. Yeah. And two, there was many times throughout last year that a similar statement, not the exact statement, but this thought was made. They should know that. Well, if you find yourself in the dugout saying they should know that a lot, they don't, because if they did, or whether
you're talking about a mental mistake, right?
Whether they should or they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right. They don't.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
Right. So, it's not enough to say, well, they should have learned, they should know this. They should be able to do this. They're varsity players.
Right. By now.
Yeah. High school players. They should be able to do this. Whatever.
And then we tend to blame the coaches that came before them. What are they teaching down there? At those levels,
right.
Which,
right.
I mean, whose responsibility is it?
Well,
it's all of our responsibility.
And bottom line is, in that moment, it's mine. It's
mine.
Yeah. So that's, that happened quite a bit, and I took note of those, and it's like, we're going to be better at these things because these aren't things that we're good at right now, but we're going to be better on them because we're going to work on them. We're going to focus on them and be intentional about getting better at them in situations like this.
Right.
So I don't know. I think a lot of times for us, it's, in my experience, scrimmages can get sloppy easy.
Intra-squad or scrimmages against an opponent?
Intra-squad.
Or both, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, they can.
And I'm not really for sure what the best way to make it work. When
you're saying intra-squad scrimmages, are you talking about having your pitchers throwing all the time?
I think that's one thing you don't do that all the time. That's one.
In fact, the majority of the time that we intra-squatted a lot this past year, and the majority of the time that we used the hack attack. We used the pitching machine.
Or coach pitcher or something like that.
The pitching machine's more difficult. It's more challenging. And so there were days when we wanted that, but then there were also days when we wanted a lot more offense, and so we just put we had a coach pitch, basically, with a pitcher on the mound playing the position of pitcher, which is very important, especially when you're wanting your pitchers to understand where you're supposed to be after you throw the ball, after you pitch the ball.
Because I've seen, I'm sure you have, you work on where a pitcher is supposed to go when a ball's put in play. You work on it. They do it in practice. You get in the game, and there they are. Stand on the mound, in front of the cut or taking the cut.
Just getting over on a ground ball hit to the left side.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge thing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Covering first base.
I thought about actually using a tee for some scrimmage sessions and saying, okay, this is a pull ball. This is an inside ball that you're going to try to pull, or it's right down the middle of the plate, and then forcing the batter to hit the ball where you want them to hit it based on where it's on the plate.
Yeah.
So they got to kind of figure out their swing, help them figure out your swing, just like they would on a normal tee drill. But then you're able
to have defense.
You're able to have the defense and make the defense play at the same time.
That probably would be fun. I mean, that would be a way to change things up. That would be a little more fun. I mean, be fun for the guys. Play a little t-ball, right?
Yeah.
Go back and
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily. I think Kaylee had a coach that did that. I think I remember her doing a lot of ball. No, somebody told me that they did that a lot. Mm-hmm. Did Jeremiah have a play on a team like that where hit off the tee a lot?
I remember doing it,
like with a defense out there.
I've done it a few times.
Okay.
Done it, but not.
It's not something I've ever done. But I like the idea.
I'm not sure you do it all the time.
No.
But yes.
But I like. But some guys. I mean, some guys don't know what it feels like to hit, to know how to hit a ball to right field or how to be gap to gap, right? And you can work on that on tee drills in front of a sock net, and you could even do long tee, which we do all the time. But then you still see them in BP jerking everything, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, hey, this is a gap to gap round, or this is an oppo round right here. And some guys struggle with it. Not all, some guys struggle with it. And so get them out in the open field, and let them feel it there and see it, the instant feedback.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me ask you this: if a drill doesn't directly connect to a game skill, is that drill worth the time spent?
I feel like it's a trick question.
Right.
So you're like, I mean, are we baking cookies?
So
you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it depends when you say that, because you do team building stuff and things like that don't have anything to do with baseball sometimes. So there's some value in that.
Well, let me ask it this way.
But I know where you're going with it.
I'll ask it this way. Like if I walked into your practice, and I'm asking every coach that's listening to us out here right now, if I walked into your practice, how much of what I see during your 2-hour practice or hour and a half, however long you go, how much of what I see would show up in a game?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I think if I'm spending an entire practice doing stuff that doesn't actually happen in a game, then I have to ask myself, have I made my team better today? Mm-hmm. Right? And that's when I say that's the shift that I've had a little bit, is I try to create a practice now that does feel more like a game to these guys. And sometimes that's scrimmaging and controlling it and stopping that scrimmage. We'll stop it a lot, in the middle of it. But like that situation where you have runners on the corners and a batter squares to bunt, and there's that pressure of what do I do? It's hard to drill that outside of doing it live. It's hard to create that pressure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that,
because you know what's coming. If I put runners on the corners and we're working on bunt coverages, my third baseman, first baseman, catcher, they all know what's coming, right? And
that's why we were so big on the concept of unstructured free play.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly why.
That's where that stuff was historically developed, and is less developed now. Why? Well, one of the main reasons why is because kids they're tired from the 8 games they played over the weekend, and they know they got practice on Tuesday and Thursday, so they don't want to go out in the yard and or go down to the ball field and play sandlot baseball.
Or they're now in high school and they got basketball in the morning, football in the afternoon, and a baseball game later that evening, and they are.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I see sometimes, another question. Are we
Don't get me in trouble here now.
I'm not. But so I think about it, like one of the things I love, I like for our in out to be really sharp.
Yeah.
Right? But But here again, like we do in out at the end of every practice. That's why it looks sharp, because we do the same thing at the end of the practice. But is that making us am I wasting practice time there? Because how is that making us better as a baseball team? Is it just making us look sharp, or is it really making us better? Right. Now, one thing,
I think there's value in having a good in and out before the game.
I
for
do
a
too.
feel
I do
confidence,
too. Yeah.
So I think that does make you better. I think, obviously there's a threat you wouldn't want.
There's a psyche. I love it when other teams are
and
watching.
I like your in and out's nice. I want to have a good in and out. It's odd that seems like sometimes you have your best games and you have your worst in and outs. Which is,
it is weird, isn't it?
It's odd.
And sometimes vice versa.
Yeah,
you come in, you're like, wow, that was flawless.
True. So what does it mean? I don't know. Maybe it's that's something good to think about.
Yeah.
Well, what's the purpose of an in and out? The purpose of the in and out is primarily to get loose, to get warm.
If you're on the road too, everybody's field's different, and so in baseball, it's like how much different is a basketball court? And football these days, everything's turf. Well, not all of them, but a lot of fields are turf, and so those aren't different either. Yeah. But when you go to a baseball field, the ballparks are very unique, and the grass is different, and the dirt is different.
Yep, sure. Infield grass different than the outfield grass.
And so you can actually use that IO time to make sure guys get different types of balls.
Sure, and in that situation, in that case, does it really matter how good they do it? Yeah,
right. I know,
maybe not, but. Because it's a learning thing.
Because that's a whole different purpose.
Yeah, so it's tricky.
Yeah,
I mean,
is.
I've never, I don't know. I've never worried too much. To me, it's always been about just a feel thing, getting mentally prepared, getting understand, like you said, how the ball rolls across the ground. Whether it's a hard outfield, what kind of hops we're getting, what's the skinned area feel like as we're running around planting and throwing, those types of things, getting used to that. And it doesn't really take that long to do. But I've seen coaches run practices before in and outs or before games as they're in and out.
Yeah.
You run a infielding practice right there. Just, so.
The team that we played in the regional semi this year, Southeastern does that.
Oh, yeah.
They'll bring 2 buckets out, 2 coaches, and they do mass fungo.
Oh, really?
Mass fungo, yeah. Ground ball after ground ball.
So
after ground ball.
I don't know how long it takes them, but if it's quick and they're running through it and they're getting ready and they're seeing.
They're obviously using it as a preparation
because they're seeing a lot of baseball. They're getting a lot of reps on that.
It was a
different field.
It was a different way of going about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I honestly, I'll just be really honest. A lot of our IO, and maybe I don't know if this is right or wrong, but it's just me personally. It's what a lot of our routine is more for the opponent to see us, basically.
Yeah. You want to look sharp.
If we're not very good, then maybe my mind would change.
You want to look sharp, so the other team's like, oh.
That's why we get it done quick. It's why we, there's multiple things going on at the same time, and there's just enough throws and balls fielded in certain areas. I don't hit it very hard. Things like I want it to be easy. I want them to succeed in it. Now when they don't, in that, something that I've had to learn as well, because sometimes you'll play, like you said, your best game after a poor in and out. I've had to learn not to freak out. I used to come in the dugout, throw my hat down, and say, "Boy, I hope they don't hit it to us today, because we sure can't field a ball, throw it to if we're going to field it and throw it the way we did in IO, we're in trouble. It's going to be an early day. I hope get your order in at Wendy's soon, because we're going to be there pretty quick." Things like that, and that kind of sarcasm and that kind of mentality. I don't. It really doesn't, because what you do in IO does not translate in any way to the game. At least for us, it hasn't, because we will. It makes you feel good when you take a good one, but then someone laces an in-betweener hop on you, the first inning, and you bobble it. That IO really didn't help. It didn't really.
Yeah, I think the purpose of an IO is, and Major League
maybe make you feel good, but also
Major League teams don't take IO.
Yeah,
they're there all day.
They do. Yeah,
balls and,
like we showed up. We went to the Reds-Phillies game not long ago, and we got into the stadium while so the Reds were finishing up. It wasn't IO, but they were out there.
They were doing things.
They were like the third baseman were with fielding balls deep in the hole. Sure, everybody was. They were getting.
It's more
in fact, did I send you the a little video? I think I sent to my coaches. They had a guy right in front of so they had a coach with a fungo, and there was a guy right in front of him, like the pitcher, but he was kneeling down about 4 feet out in front of him, tossing it to him, and he was hitting ground balls off of that to the second baseman. And I said, I got a new job for Dustin this year. How much do you trust your coach? And they're like, not that much. Yeah, I mean it was pretty impressive because he wasn't hitting it right back at the guy, right? Fungo, you can control a fungo easy enough.
I got you, Coach.
I got a kid that'll do that, I'll bet. We'll get Trace Barnett to do that. Or Case is crazy enough to do it. But no, they were like, it wasn't IO, but it was that. And then the Phillies took BP with their starters or their
dexterity.
guys.
Get your eyes focused in, get your body, in sync, get feeling good. Just getting ready.
It's like the
loose.
basketball warm-up pregame, right?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. It doesn't. It's a warm-up
for your guys, or is it for the fans? Is it for who's it for?
Right.
Are you really getting better during that time? Are you preparing to play? Are you football walks through their stuff?
Here's the thing, though. I think there's value in it because are you thinking about not doing an in and out this year?
Oh no,
you're still going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's just for that to get to.
My only thought was, am I going to dedicate 15 minutes of practice to it every day?
I don't know, but you better look good in and out in our game because I'm going to say something about it if you don't.
Yeah, you guys are slacking.
Yeah, and we normally do. We don't. I would say we do 10 minutes of in and out every practice.
Yeah.
Some days we don't. Some days we won't. Some days we don't throw. To be honest with you, just to give
depending
guys,
on what the practice goal is.
Yeah. But I'd say we do 10 minutes. I don't know, of in and out.
Yeah.
And just to for me, I kind of correlate to beginning of practice, starting and getting ready to go. After you do that, now you're ready to compete. So you do it, you get ready to compete. So there's like maybe a trigger or something like that tells your guys, okay, now it's time to go. We've got this done. Now it's time to go. Yeah, this was our. But at the same time, we are constantly talking about the moment you walk on the field when you're starting your dynamic warm up. Mm-hmm. You're competing for the same reason that you said earlier. Because if you're out there and you look disorganized and lazy or just not into it, you're giving the other team a mental advantage right off the bat. So you don't want to do things like that. And that's the
way you get off the bus, the way you walk the
absolutely
field,
yeah. And that's actually something that I've noted that we're gonna cover.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really we're gonna spend a lot of time on details and things like that this year, just to kind of get back to a baseline of what I think we need to be. So I'm kind of excited to do that and to see the benefits of it. Maybe all the things that I forget to cover when we go into the season.
It's Coach Wooden's putting on your shoes and socks the proper way, right? It's just all that. It's all that. Let me tell you about I know we've actually covered. We've gone quite a while here. 43 minutes.
It's always pretty easy.
It is pretty easy to fill. There's a reason why we got to get started because it's easy to fill it. But I went down. I was watching a lot of OU's football camp, OU football camp, and this year, and the last day of camp they did a. I saw on the schedule that it was a scrimmage, but it was a certain. It had a name for. I can't remember what it was called. But it was like a situational scrimmage, whatever. And so I thought, oh, cool. I didn't go every day, but on those scrimmage days, when they went live,
you gave me a great idea for this.
Yeah. And so I thought I'm going to go watch the scrimmage. Well, I get down there, and they've got the whole team on the sideline, right? And they start the scrimmage, and there's no one against them. Like if the offense is out there, the offense runs a few plays, but what's going on is more of this is going to happen in a game. Like you'd have a coach saying this, fumble or and then defense to get the guys up there, or on third down, punt team, and they're getting them all together. Timeout. Where's the water people? There was a timeout and they didn't have any water, and the water people are there to do their job, and they're like hollering for them, and they gave them an earful. They said, listen, you got to pay attention. Because when there's a timeout, we need you out here squirting water in these guys' mouths.
Yep.
And so it was all the little things that are going to happen in a game, but they hadn't happened in that 2 weeks of practice because they were practicing and they were practicing other things. And even in the scrimmage, it was different, right? But the situational scrimmage, they weren't throwing and catching balls. They weren't on the field. They were going through the motions, but it was all of the other stuff that was happening. And I just thought it was a really cool thing to see, because we got to be ready for that. Next week you're going to Rutgers, and we can't have this be the first time you understand what you hear us say. Kick team, punt team, green, whatever it is that we're going. You got to be ready to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Same.
And you got to feel it on the sidelines.
Same thing.
We're going to be on the sidelines, and this is where you're going to be standing, and this is where it's going to happen. Right?
Because you're in the game at that moment.
They had the headsets.
You're
and
sucked into it. Yeah. You want to simulate as closely as you can to that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you gave me a good idea on that too. Like just situations that happen during the course of a game, and turning those into what I would call a drill. But a live drill, and putting guys in those situations to have them do it. Like I said, running on second, ground ball hit the right field. Yeah, will you rep it once? What happens at the plate? Mm-hmm. What happens to the guy that hit the ball?
With everybody. The guy on deck, you're coaching that runner up. It's everything.
Yes.
The guys in the dugout, how are we reacting when we score a run? Right?
Maybe it's the third out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's what do we do when it's the third out? We got a runner on second base.
On and off.
Yes, absolutely. All those things. And so I'm gearing up to implement a lot of that in practice this year. And hopefully, it's not just I think not just but it makes a more fun environment, but it gets more engagement out of the players as well. Yeah. As opposed to just a drill when we always say it, if you screw the drill up, the drill's not over. You got to finish the drill, and that's kind of a microcosm of what we're talking about here. There's more to it than just what you're doing. Right. So I'm excited about it. I think you're right. I think competition's so important. Having that, being in the moment, having the feel, wanting to succeed, having to make a decision, all those things come together and that's, and in baseball, I think we're unique. We've talked about this before. It may only happen once a game. Yeah. You may only get the opportunity to do it once a game. Right. And you either do it right or you don't.
Or once a season sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right.
Yeah. That's the uniqueness of it.
Yep.
So, you talked about engaging the players more. And I think one good way to do this, and one good way to maybe ensure that you are on the right track, and this is like, do you have a meeting at the end of your practice usually? Like get everybody together. I mean, most of us do that, right? Take 5 minutes, ask them what did you actually learn today? Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good.
What did you learn? I mean, did we in our course of our practice today? What did you learn? Mm-hmm. Right. And because it may not be something that you taught as a coach, like I wanted to make sure I teach this skill today, but it might be because of the situation.
That's a good word.
In this particular practice situation, Coach, we had a rundown take place between home and third, and as a left fielder, I learned that if I don't go down and cover third base, then there could be a situation. We could miss out on a chance to get an out, or
And you put them in the situation to figure it out. Yeah. One way or another. You may tweak that a little bit. Say, well, I don't want you to do exactly that.
Right.
I'm finding myself.
You learned this, but here's how we.
Yeah, I'm being drawn like this. I would say more from a mechanical perspective. This fits, but you may had a good my My kid's not hitting the ball. Why isn't he hitting the ball? Well, he's dropping his hands. Okay. Don't drop your hands. Right? Well, I let him hit a high tee. And let him hit a high tee. You don't have to say anything to him. Just set the tee high, let him swing, and have him hit that ball straight into the net.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out.
He'll do this for a while.
So I find myself being drawn to this, I would say, like natural drills, but just putting the player in a situation where you don't have to, you're coaching them because you're putting them in that situation that you think is going to help them, but it's the situation that they're in that is actually helping.
Yeah.
So in that, the example of a high tee, they're not going to be. If they drop their hands, they're going to have to bring them up before they hit the high tee, or they're going to hit the tee, or they're going to hit straight up in the air, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of drawn more now, and I think Kevin Wilson actually helped bring me there too, because he talking hitting's a conversation, and what do you feel, what do you see, and it's not just about slotting your elbow.
Yeah.
But
here's your problem. Let me point this out to you and tell you what not to do.
Right.
That's kind of not his approach.
Yeah. The key is getting you to a point where you're succeeding.
Yeah.
Let's do things that helps you figure that out.
Getting you to a point where you can almost feel, not only diagnose it with your mind, but feel it with your body
and be able to replicate it
and realize, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, for sure. So
good stuff.
I like that. Yep.
Cool.
Wrapping her up.
We'll do it again next week. We'll do a different topic, something that we summarized.
We covered them last week, so I don't know what
we'll
it is.
Pick one. It won't necessarily be the second one that we talked about. It could be, and depending on what happens, between now and then, we got stuff happening during the week. You gotta.
I'm a football parent, so we may have to go to the Parents is Crazy.
Yeah. Right.
Episode.
How you been? By the way, you've been pretty good.
I am so nervous. It is ridiculous.
You got a freshman playing on the varsity team.
Yeah, he's gotten some reps. We got some guys hurt, and he's filled in really good. He had a really rough. He got his first touchdown last week, but he had a really rough time on defense. There's basically three plays that ended up hurting the team pretty good. So he wasn't happy with himself after the game, but just so nervous. I feel like I'm watching the Browns. Sick to my stomach, and I don't. It's just very odd, and it's different because, and I may be learning a little bit too, but no, I know there's still anger, like, why didn't you do this? But
like when you're watching him play,
and the ride home, we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it because I felt horrible for him, and I felt horrible for the team. And I mean, he didn't cost them the game, but he just didn't play well enough on defense, and it's hard.
And you knew that he knew that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, how many times in his life, or Jake's life, my older son, has this situation been exactly the same? But because I'm a baseball guy, I felt the need to
on the way home,
coach him on the way home.
Yeah.
It's like, and we didn't talk about the game until the next day, until he brought it up. So it was good, but we need a win. Hopefully we going to Liberty Union Friday, traveling up to Liberty Union, and hopefully we get a win there. We need one for the guys. So
big weekend. It's a big week. Yeah, you guys need a win. More high school ball. So Eastern's going to South Gallia. I think that'll be a little different challenge for them from what last week was at least. But
South Gallia was pretty good.
Was a nice challenge.
But Coach Corvin's there, and
they've had some good wins here.
We played them 7-on-7 and a 7-on-7. They look pretty good.
Some speed, I think.
Yeah.
In the college game, we got the Bobcats hosting the
West Virginia.
WVU Mountaineers here.
We've built parking lots for that game.
They're anticipating it's sold out. So anticipating
it's sold out.
A record crowd here potentially.
I hear we had a record season ticket sales too, because all the West Virginia fans
bought the season ticket
because it's cheaper than buying a
cheaper to buy every game season ticket
for a family of 4 than to buy one single ticket
and they can at least come to this game. Yeah, it's pretty wild when you consider.
Should I make a
coming?
prediction? A bold prediction? Heck no, I'm not coming.
Well, it's a 3.5 point spread. I think they opened up.
I'm gonna do it.
A WVU 3.5 point favorite.
I got bad news for the Mountaineer fans out there.
Better come ready. You better be ready.
We got a boy.
This offense is gonna.
We got a boy at Athens, Ohio, that can sling it and run it.
That's where he's underestimated.
Yeah.
You watch there's so many linebackers that assume they're going to catch him, and their angle isn't right, and he goes right by.
And
him.
but he can still throw on the run. So
he does.
If a guy does come open in that situation or in that moment, he can hit him.
He's very athletic, very athletic. And
it's exciting.
Yeah, the whole team really played right. The offense looked really good against Rutgers, and the defense will figure it out.
Defense started late.
Tough.
If they don't start late,
they started late. They didn't have a single stop in the first half, and they got 2 in the second. I'm like, if we just get 2 stops, we're in it. We got 2 stops. We were ahead of them.
And then they didn't at the end.
Yeah, 34-31.
Yeah.
Had an opportunity there. Yeah,
fun
but
stuff.
I think Coach Schiano knew if I don't go for it here at the end of the game, if I kick a field goal and go up 6, there's a good chance that OU beats us.
Yeah. I texted you and said that's a smart move.
Yeah,
it's good risk.
Everybody was saying that.
Yeah.
You got to do what you
I
got to
would
do.
have done the same thing. I wouldn't have put it back in his hands. I'd have left it in the line.
So you WVU fans, be ready.
Yeah, they better.
You know ESPN. So the ESPN does those matchup predictions, right? You have this percentage chance of winning. Like right now, the Ohio State before the season opened up because OU has Ohio State next week. They're going to be at Ohio State. That one was like a 3% chance of winning.
Yeah,
right. It's like 5 now. But the OU WVU game, it opened up with OU having like a 35% chance against WVU. Right now, if you look at it, I don't know about right now, but after last weekend, it might have changed a little bit. It's like 48.9%.
You know,
it's
Lane,
right at 50-50.
Lane is a WVU fan. I learned that this week.
Is he really?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all WVU folks.
The biggest WVU fan that I know, his son is getting married on game day this Saturday. And he played here at OU, offensive line. I'm going to his wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah. I coached him ever since he was 6 years old, 7 years old.
Where's the wedding?
Columbus.
Are you going to be able to make it back?
The wedding starts at 3:30.
Oh my!
Game starts at 4.
So you're not. You're going to miss it.
I'm going to come back for it after the wedding. I'm going to come back for as much as I can the second half. I got to experience a little bit of it. The game. This is a once in a lifetime. I mean, it's not going to happen again, most likely.
You don't think?
Actually, it is. It's good. Well, it's not here.
Buckeyes.
It's a 3-game series every other year.
WVU.
But so like this year, WVU's coming here. 27, we're going there, and 29, we're going there.
Yeah.
So it's weird how they do that scheduling, but yeah, it's a pretty wild thing because I think the record attendance at Peden Stadium holds 24,000, like 24,100, something like that. The record attendance was the Marshall game in 2014. There's another team. Why aren't they on the schedule more? That's a big gate. Every time you play them, it's a big gate. Like that's a team we should be playing every year almost.
Yeah.
But anyway, 25,210, I believe, was the record attendance when Marshall came here last. Before that, it was Pitt, Frank's senior year, Frank Solich's senior year.
His last year.
His first year.
Oh, first
year. His first year, yeah. And that was like right at 25,000 or close to that. And the hillside's packed, you know. That's how you can get more than 24 is you put them on the grass up there.
Right.
It's pretty cool. So I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. It's going to be weird. It'd be weird. I think it's going to be filled with WVU fans.
Yeah, you're gonna. I don't know, man. You might have trouble getting in town.
I know. I mean, I might get back here and not have a place to park and just not be able to go in anyway. But I at least have a way to get in. I'll have a field pass.
Right.
But I'm gonna have to park up here at the middle school or something and walk down.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
boy.
We'll figure it out.
That's why I don't know.
Congratulations to Brody, though. I'm happy for him getting married. It was a little bit of a shock, I think, when Brad looked at the calendar last year and saw what date the wedding was set on. These fall weddings. Are you a football fan or not?
Yeah.
My niece got married. Huge Ohio State fans, right? Heath and his family. And I think she got married on the weekend of Ohio State, Michigan.
I would know. Yeah.
A few years ago. Actually, it may not have been Michigan, but the Buckeyes were playing though.
He'll always be able to say, "Remember, we got married during this game."
That's right.
I got to watch this football game.
Honey, I gave this to you. Yeah. I think the very fact that you got married on this day shows who's running that family.
Brady, I've got nothing, brother. I drove to
On
Athens.
that note.
I drove to Athens twice today. See you next week, Coach.